David, welcome to Aim to Next Digital. Super excited to have you. Let's start off with an introduction.
Well, I'm also excited to be here. Thank you. I'm David Slump, CEO of Marelli, and a client of O9. Marelli is an automotive technology partner, so we provide a lot of technology in the car. I'm sure everybody in the audience has a car. So we do lighting, is what we're most famous for. People are aware of their nice lighting systems, but we do the electronics of the cockpit, exhaust, suspension, number of parts in the car, and excited with what's going on in the industry with electrification.
Yeah, totally. Now, you joined Marelli 2 years ago.
Correct.
What made you excited about the opportunity?
So before Marelli, I was in the consumer and automotive industry with Harman. So Harman is a company that owns brands like JBL and Harman Kardon, but also an automotive tier one. Prior to that, I spent 20 years in energy. Always the jobs that I've been excited about are the biggest problems. And at Harman, I had a variety of roles. Our CEO used to say, there's a problem, that's your role. So I felt like this was a big opportunity. And KKR is a great owner, as you would know.
Yeah.
And it needed a turnaround. So I joined to take advantage of the problem and make a solution.
I love that. Now, you're 2 years in. Yes. Are you satisfied with the progress to date? And what will be your focus in the next couple of years?
So I'm happy with the progress, not satisfied. We still have more to do, but we're profitable now.
Yeah.
We're growing almost double digit. I'd like to get right to that double digit growth. Most importantly though, innovation has been renewed, so our order book's strong, and that's super important. With the right innovation and the right execution, I know we'll talk a lot about execution, then I see the end is no sight.
No, absolutely. Maybe before we go to execution, double click on innovation. I saw you at CES as well this year. What are you mostly excited about when it comes to new innovation?
So a couple things. The automotive industry, as I said, is going through huge change. Electrification gets the biggest soundbite of that. And for us, that's important, but we're trying to focus a lot of our portfolio on powertrain agnostic. So it doesn't matter if it's an EV or a combustion engine, still needs lights, still needs electronics. But what's really exciting for us is the software-defined vehicle. And what we focused mostly on at CES is design-led innovation. So how do we really help the OEMs cater to the consumer on what matters from a design-led innovation and the vehicle personality, the HMI, the displays, et cetera. And then separating hardware and software to help them realize this vision of the software-defined vehicle. So our whole exhibit was around that, including digital twin and things that your tech industry is more used to than the automotive industry, but the aviation industry has done it before.
Yeah, super exciting. Now, obviously, you mentioned that already, the big transformation and disruption in the industry with EV. What is your point of view on how that change and disruption will evolve in the next couple of years? And what is the role that you want Marelli to play?
So short term, it's very chaotic, as you probably can read in Wall Street, Tesla sales, discounts, China. But long term, we kind of analyzed this and created our own point of view. That the shift of powertrains is a regional battlefield, meaning it's going to go faster in China and Europe than it's going to go in US or India or South America. And we realigned our supply chains, our footprint capabilities around that belief of those shifts because this is a long cycle industry and a lot of restructuring is occurring. So big restructuring in Europe, for example. We have to equip ourselves for the new reality of EVs in Europe, but it's going to be really slow in the US or South America. So we're equipped to supply long-term their traditional technologies. But it's going to happen. It's just going to be bumpy. I think the second thing, and this relates to what we're doing, is content per vehicle of electronics is skyrocketing because of the features that people want and electrification. And we all know what happened in the semiconductor industry and how those are very long cycle problems to an industry that EDIs were very short cycles. So that's, I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but that's the focus area also on electrification. What does it mean to our supply chains?
Yeah, for sure. And that's also why, we have started a journey together, a big supply chain, digital transformation journey. Why is it important to you, David?
So for me, it's really more about the SIOP plus process, I'll call it. So I'm sure everybody knows sales, inventory, and operations planning. As a business leader, that to me is like the heartbeat of an organization. It's just many people don't realize. Or like the drummer of a band. If the drummer's offbeat, the whole band's offbeat. I believe SIOP is that cross-functional drummer of the band for an enterprise. And it's not as well understood as you would expect from a board down. But you got to get it outside the four walls of the plants. So I believe in it deeply. And when I joined Marelli, I could tell with 140 plants at the time, lack of integration, if we're honest, how the company was being run, antiquated systems, the semiconductor prices. We were living in Excel. How do you expect to have low employee turnover in your supply chain team if they have to live in chaos in Excel? So we needed a partner to digitize this and make us world-class.
No, that makes total sense. If we look at supply chain transformation from your customer's point of view, the big OEMs, how would you like them to describe Marelli's supply chain performance?
Resilient would be one word, and reliable. So resilient and reliable.
No, that makes total sense. If that's the end goal, the North Star, where are we today? And what do you expect in the next 12 months?
I would say, if I kind of go back to factor physics, you can achieve on-time delivery with high inventory.
Sure.
So in our industry, and one of the root causes of the semiconductor crisis was who carries the buffer inventory. And I think the industry right now learned that that's an end-to-end supply chain problem. And that's something we're working on with our customers. So in the past, the OEMs would just say, David, here's your 16 weeks ADI secure supply chain. Now we're looking out more than 1 year. We're looking not at the chip, but the fab. I think during that crisis, it was not just who your supplier is, but who's their supplier of the fab, and down to who's their supplier of a lead frame. I mean, nobody knew what lead frames were until there was a semiconductor crisis. So the interaction and collaboration of data has gone beyond four walls, and that is exciting and scary at the same time. So that's, putting a lot of pressure on the change. So where are we on that? Well, that's improving resiliency. Because it's making us think much farther out and secure supply and think about buffer stock and, not dual sourcing the chip if they're the same fab, but are you multi-sourcing across that, which in the end is making it reliable. But I'd say reliability, we're doing good. We are really responsive to a crisis, but the resiliency is more forward-looking, and I'd say there we still can do better.
Understood. Now, getting the entire organization rallied behind a transformation program like this is obviously a critical success factor. What is your approach to that, and what recommendation do you have to fellow CEOs that are embarking on a similar journey?
So, in a nutshell, I'd say just do it. So, meaning user adoption, master data, deployments, all these things can be laid out very sequential. But if we don't use it, we don't make it better. So I'm probably more of a minimal viable product sprint one. Let's just get it out there. And then when people are using it, it'll naturally get better. This belief that living in Excel is better is, to me, a fallacy. So my deployment methodology here and lessons learned advice from prior would be really go as fast as you can on user adoption to clean up the master data and get the habits built.
Now, you already touched on user adoption. The other thing that we often hear from organizations that they're nervous about is the change management component. How is that in an organization like Marelli, and what is your approach to driving the change in the organization?
So awareness that there's an opportunity to be better. Okay, so for me, it starts with the customer data. If we're not green on our customer scorecard because delivery, that's an awareness part of the change management. Second is our internal awareness around inventory levels. If we're not world-class in our inventory, it's just covering up the fact that our process is no good. And, cash in a private equity world is king, so we're really focused on cash generation, and inventory is a big change management agenda. So those are I'll call it the leadership tone. So it's not about the tool, it's not about the process, it's about customers and cash. But without a fundamental execution. And then final, I'd say, is empowerment of the plants. with so many plants here, often this is a central function supply chain. No, it's the four walls of the plant starts first. One of our customers had shared that, we weren't the best in the semiconductor industry. And I said, well, who did the best and why? And one of their feedback was the competitor who did the best, the why was their plant manager was looking out and could demand engineering do alternative part changes at the plant level, which is kind of unheard of in our industry. So, yeah, I think empowerment at the plant level is where the change starts.
I love that. Now, and actually you already mentioned that, but for any tier one supplier like Marelli, you're obviously dependent on your supplier ability to deliver. What we are seeing, not only in automotive, but across industries, is an increased need to collaborate with suppliers, but not only the tier ones, the tier twos, and so forth, to get a better understanding of capacities, inventories, and so forth. What is your point of view specifically to the automotive sector and the value chain collaboration, and specifically when it comes to Marelli and its tier one, tier two suppliers?
So Marelli's probably no better or worse than the average in the industry now. But the industry compared to other industries has got a lot of room for improvement. So traditionally this industry has been very tier one, tier two, tier three, tier N. If you look at kind of world-class consumer electronic companies, I had the benefit of when Samsung bought Harman, what they looked at end-to-end inventory. I mean, what did they have at their dealers? What did they have in their four walls? What did they commit to their suppliers? And they had visibility to that. I thought that was pretty world-class. Now, automotive won't quite get there, but in theory, we need to know what is our commitment that we're making to suppliers, but turn around, two-way EDI. Two-way EDI is not a common thing, meaning return to forecast commitment. So we release it to a supplier. Did we get a return? Did we get a documented commitment? Or we just assume if we released it, it's coming? And in the traditional automotive 16-week window, not a big problem. But when we're looking out now 52 weeks, what's committed, what isn't, where does accountability lie? That still has room for improvement.
And what is the key constraint in getting there?
That's a good question. I don't want to say technology, but that's what comes to mind, meaning why is it so hard to get these things done? Why is two-way EDI hard? Why is a return to forecast commitment hard? Is it the company's culture? I don't hear suppliers, when you ask for it, they won't say, no, we won't give you that. So what makes it hard? Why are these hard? Or sometimes they make it too hard. Oh, you have to join an industry collaboration and all suppliers have to put the data up in some big data lake. Well, that sounds too hard. So I don't know, or maybe we're not aware of simple solutions.
Okay, that seems to be very solvable, but we'll talk more about that. Now back to the program, the S&OP Plus that we're working on.
Yes.
By the way, tell a little bit more about the Plus, and then what should the program deliver, and what have we seen so far?
So the Plus for me was because traditionally it looks at what you're shipping today or what's in the ERP today. But often the mistakes, you learn from mistakes. The mistakes I've lived through are often in the new product launches. And the pre-SOP, started production programs in automotive, are outside your ERP. So by definition, they're not flowing through your normal. And then you have material shortages, you have ramp-up shortages. So the first thing we were focused on is let's not forget that we're in business to launch new programs. And that supply chain readiness, safe launch planning has to be part of SIOP, even though it's not in the normal process of SIOP. So that was the first plus. We are in deployment in a stage process with our divisions. And I don't think we're quite there for the plus, would be where we're at.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're working on. Now, what do you expect from a technology supplier like O9? And also, where do you want us to be innovative and put investments to better serve Marelli?
So what I would expect is a partnership, okay, not just a tool. And I appreciate that's what I'm getting, okay? So that's the first thing I'd compliment, because in my prior job, we've got a tool, we didn't get a partner in what we deployed. And why do I say that? Because this is cultural change, it's user adoption, it's a journey. I also don't want to give you our process and you customize your tool and we find out we're customizing the wrong thing. So in that partnership, I love that you guys push back. You help us make sure what we're doing is best in practice and we're reusing, things you do for other industry. So in that partnership, I think the transparency, the trust, the ultimate shared performance, and I really respect how you guys have taken that on.
Yeah, no, that I think incentives are completely aligned, so we appreciate that too. Now, last question. What I would be interested in is your perspective. Will we see more CEOs with a supply chain background? And there's many chief supply chain officers, SVP supply chains, listening in today. What can we do to get them to a CEO position? What's your point of view there?
Do other functional positions. So if you grow up in supply chain, will you make it to CEO? The odds are pretty minimal. Okay, let's just be frank. I think most CEOs have to sell, they have to deal with finance markets, et cetera. That's not to say you shouldn't understand supply chain. I would turn it around and say, how come more CEOs or division presidents or business leaders don't understand SIOP as the drummer of the band for their business? And they don't even use it in their 5-quarter rolling forecast. So I almost would turn around and say, how do we get more potential CEOs to understand supply chain? And if you're a supply chain expert wanting to be a CEO, then go do other functions. Learn the business from different points of view. That's what it would take.
No, amazing. Look, David, thanks for joining here at AIM10X. Appreciated the conversation and also very much appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks to the whole 09 team.
Amazing. Thanks, David.
Thank you.